Welcome back to AYT with Grayson and Zeffy. Today we're going to be talking about shopping nonsense. Now, Zeffy, I'm sure that you've experienced this as well as many of our listeners, where you walk into a store, whether that be like Walmart, our Deans for our Canadian listeners, or literally anywhere, and you look and you're like, what is this doing here? Like, why is this product even in the store?
First time I ever went to Spencer's, I didn't know what
Mm,
a Spencer's was, and I quickly learned they're one of those stores that have a little bit of everything. So during this podcast, Spencer's don't count because they
true.
have
True.
everything.
Welcome back to Ain't Yo Tea with Grayson and Zeffy. Today we're going to be talking about shopping nonsense. So, my whole thing with shopping nonsense is why sell it when it doesn't belong? Now, I think we've all been to stores, I think you can agree, Zeffy, where we walk into them and we're like, what is this item doing here? Like, I was walking into a
Oh
store
yeah.
looking for Halloween stuff and found tarot cards and all these different things. And I was just like, what are these even doing here? Welcome back to Ain't Yo Tea with Grayson and Zeffy. Today we're going to be talking about shopping nonsense. Now, my whole thing with shopping nonsense is why sell it when it doesn't belong there? I've walked into many stores before, and I think you can agree, where it's just like, why is this item even here? Like, it doesn't make sense as to why you're selling it at this particular store.
Oh yeah, like one of my favorite stores that does this is actually Barnes and Nobles. Why? Because they've got Lego sets, they've got like witchy shit, they've got tarot cards, you name it, they have it. Why? Why do they have this stuff when they are a bookstore? I would go to like Barnes and Nobles for books, and what do I find? Tarot cards, crystals, Lego sets, like toys. Why is that a thing? If I'm going to a bookshop for something, I want to find books. I don't want to find crystals and everything.
I'm totally with you on that, where it's like I've walked into stores recently. I went to a store in Canada called Ardeen, and Ardeen, whatever it's called. There's, if you ask any Canadian, they pronounce it differently. But I was in there, and they sell kind of like Y2K teeny bopper clothes. And I was in the checkout line with a close friend of mine, and just looking through like the daily planners and stuff, which you would usually find at a store like that. And then I turned around, and they had like crystals, and they had like a little book on crystals and about palm reading, and I was like, why is this here? Like, this is not like an apothecary store, this is not a spiritual store. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand.
You want to know a store that actually sells stuff that like I don't know why in the world. If you look up crystals and stuff, the store will pop up on your list. But stores like Michaels, I don't
We
know if you have
have
Michaels
Michaels
up in
up in
Canada,
Canada.
but they sell. Oh, forgive me for being the American that doesn't exactly know. I've never been
All
outside the
right, all right.
U.S. Cut me some slack. But a store that sells crystals and stuff that like I never really would have thought of was Michael's, and it's really funny because if you go looking for crystals, you can find real crystal and real rock at Michael's. Now, granted, listen, they have the glass stuff, they have the
Mm.
fake stuff, so you have to be careful when shopping, but they sell this stuff. And it's a craft store, so like I get it for like, hey, maybe here and there for a little bit of crafting, for some jewels, whatnot. But when they are literally listed as somebody that sells crystals, and if you're a witch looking for crystals, you can find crystals there, like that just seems kind of like an area that I'm like, I would rather look for an apothecary. Or some like a shop that actually has like specializes in crystals and specializes in terror and like witchy stuff. And forgive me for keep calling it witchy stuff, cause
No, I'm with you
ugh.
on that though, for real. Like, I've walked into so many stores as of late, like I said, and I'm just shocked at like all of the like kind of teeny bopper version. It's a very washed down version of what you would actually find at an apothecary store. But what I find interesting is
Oh
that I'm
yeah.
going to all these stores and I'm finding like new agey fad kind of stuff, but I'm not finding any Christian stuff. You know what I mean? I find it interesting that there's no
Right.
like
Yeah.
we talk about spirituality and like the difference between that and Christianity and other religions, but I'm finding that the spiritual side, the witchcraft pagan side, is being appropriated at these big chain stores. It's becoming a
Oh yeah.
fad.
Yeah.
Like, and I just don't understand how they feel like that's okay.
I don't think that it's cool that the modern day witch has become someone that's not seen as someone who forgive me for saying it like this, but someone who can be dangerous
Mm,
and powerful, but rather we're looked at as, oh, they're just people who wave their hands around. They think they do magic, when in reality, sometimes it's actually really scary when you really dive into it of what a witch can
oh,
actually
I'm
be
so with
capable
you on
of.
that. And I think that goes with like people just not understanding and it becoming a fab versus fact. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And like going back to what you said a second ago, where like the Christianity versus like how like the modern day witch and how it's kind of like it's turned to like a fab kind of thing, like something that's just like on trend. And with just like in Christianity, like Christians are somebody who I've seen, and coming from somebody who's been in a Bible college, come from a religious like
Absolutely.
home and standpoint, it's really become something that's more, look at me, I'm praising Jesus, but turn around and I'm really not that great of a person. And that's really sad because the Christian name, like, it's destroyed that. And I feel like that's what's happening to like the witch community, is that this trending nonsense of witchcraft
Mm,
and spells and crystals is going to like water down and like, oh, wait, what's the word, like
no,
diminish. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Like diminish the actual like value and like meaning behind like being a witch and being someone who uses
no,
magic.
I
I don't know if
totally
I
agree
said
with
that
you. And
right.
that's where I think where it's like that kind of fab versus fact of what we really know and what we don't, and what people are buying without even understanding the history behind it. They're not understanding how deep of a connection people have to it, and they're not understanding the power that they hold with it. Like you look at these big name brands like Walmart and the Dollar Tree and the dollar store and all of these different places, and it's fab versus fact. It's like, I know that you've told me before your Oracle versus tarot deck kind of situation, and I think it comes from uneducation of the seller and education of
Oh
the
yeah.
buyer.
So, for those of you who are listening that don't know, I am a
Yeah.
practicing witch. I do tarot readings and stuff. I don't really talk about that a lot on my TikTok and stuff like that, but yeah, I am a
Mm,
practicing witch. I consider myself more towards like the Christian witchy side just because of my belief value and whatnot, but that's something different that we can talk about
absolutely.
deities and stuff another time. But definitely something that I feel like has really affected the whole, like I was saying, like the witchy stuff becoming diminished, is the uneducated people
Mm.
selling these products that have no idea how to use them, who are, as we shall call them in Harry Potter
Oh
terms,
yeah.
muggles selling witchcraft like items that are like, oh yeah, this crystal's for like peace and joy, and you sit there and go, honey, that's a rose quartz. That's not what that's
Absolutely.
for. Like you have messed up. And I ran into a lady in Texas who basically has a mini little apothecary area, and she's a practicing
Mm.
witch. I love her to death. She's really cool. And she sat down with me, and I was brought in some crystals and stuff, and was sitting down talking to her. And she's like, "Do you know that most people will tell you that like the rose quartz, for instance, she's like brings like harmony and joy and stuff." She's like, "And that's not what that does." And I started laughing about it because she explained to me that a rose quartz is actually used in a type of like love rituals, or helping to like bring
Oh,
love into your
absolutely.
life, or trying to like emphasize love. And I didn't know that, so I tried carrying it around for a minute. I'm not gonna lie to you, it might have worked for a hot minute, and then I don't know where that quartz went since moving. I hope it's in good hands. It might be in my bowl. Keep in mind, at this time of this podcast, I have not unpacked all my witchy stuff. I'm still settling into our new
Yeah.
apartment. We'll preference with that, but yeah, I definitely think it has to do with the uneducated like people selling this stuff. And I've got this great story for you guys. So one time, when I went to go get my first
Mm.
tarot deck, okay. And if you're not familiar with what a tarot deck is, it's a great tool used for looking for like general guidance or specific guidance to a
Absolutely.
specific problem. It's a really cool ability and tool to have, and it's, if anybody here is listening, you're a witch and you don't have a tarot deck or and you're capable of using one, I highly advise you to go get one because they
Oh, it's
really
changed
help
my
you a
life.
lot
Reading
throughout life.
tarot the past few years has completely changed my outlook on life and spirituality as a whole. I'm so with you on that. I'm sorry to cut you off, but like Zephy is
Oh no, good.
110% right. It is something that I felt at the beginning of my journey into paganism, which I am also a practicing pagan, and I call myself more of a spiritualist. It's a game changer.
Oh yeah, and so anyways, I'm so sorry. We'll cut that out. Anyways, um, but yeah, so I went to go purchase this tarot deck, okay? And I thought that this guy knew what he was doing. And mind you, it was a Barnes and Noble. I will admit it. It wasn't an apothecary. I should have gone to an apothecary, but I should have gone to an apothecary, but I went to a Barnes and Noble. And the guy sat down and was talking to me, and I was like, "Well, I'm looking for a tarot deck and whatnot." And well, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know the names of it at the time. I called it a deck with pictures on it for witches, and he looked at me kind of funny, and I looked at him kind of funny because, mind you, this is baby witchy Zeffy, where I didn't know what I was doing, and he didn't know clearly what he was doing. So we walked to the witchy stuff, and this is when, if you work in retail, let me just put a pin in it right here. If you work in retail and you are not educated on something, please call
Oh,
somebody who is and get them
preach.
over there to be like, get help. Like, don't be afraid to be like, hey, this person needs the right product and I can't help them. Somebody else get over here. Because, like, this kind of thing will happen to somebody and
No,
it sucks. It sucks to be the guy
I
on the other end
respect the
walking
person
home.
who's serving me more when they don't know the answer to my question and they
Mm-hmm.
go find someone else who does. I know that sometimes people can feel embarrassed when they don't have all the answers. We're human beings, but I would rather someone be like, "Hey, I'm not 100% sure about this. Let me go find someone who does."
So,
Yeah.
we'll come back to the story now. But anyway, so I ended up asking this guy if I can find like a tarot deck and whatnot, and or if he can find me like a deck with pictures and stuff for witches. And he hands me a deck, and I go, "Cool. It looks like it. It's cool. It has animals on it. It looked pretty. I liked it. He thought it was cool. I loved it. I went out, I purchased it, and went home. Mind you, I didn't know the difference between an oracle deck and a tarot
Mm.
deck. Um, at all. Like to this day, the lines
Yeah, that's
slightly
fair.
blur for me. But let me just put it this way. Uh, Oracle decks are way more of like a
Yeah,
spiritual thing, I guess I could say. And tarot decks are good for finding like real life problems and finding answers to like the
absolutely.
problem. Um, and that's just like a very like rough term. And if you're watching this and you have a better way of describing it, please leave it down in the comments below. I love to be like better
Absolutely.
educated on stuff. But anyway, so the guy handed me the oracle deck. I had it home, went to use it, didn't know how the heck to use it. Nothing was running out right, nothing was working, and I was going, this is not right. So I ended up going back to the store with the deck and sat down and talked to a lady who knew what she was doing, laughed and went, "Honey, are you not an oracle?" And I went, "No, I have no idea what that is at the time." And she goes, "Okay, I'll help you find a tarot deck." And I went and I got a deck, came home, and I will tell you this: if you're not an oracle and you're trying to use like an oracle deck, it's not
No.
easy, and it's a little messed up sometimes.
No, I'm so with you on that. Like, I know that there's been multiple
Uh,
times when I've been in stores and not going to an apothecary, but even just checking stuff out as a spiritual person. Um, and I'm like, what even is this? Like, what? Like, I'm so confused. I don't understand. And I'll try and talk to somebody. Like, I know we have chapters down here. It's very similar to Barnes and Noble. And they sell tarot decks and crystals
mm-hmm.
and stuff now too, which I find like a little. I'm very much what we're talking about today, where I'm like, the knowledge of the people around here. This is not what it's supposed to be. Like this is not where this item's supposed to be. And I've been in those situations where I'm like, hey, can you tell me more about this? Even to just question it, even if I know what it's about, to just see how knowledgeable these people are in their products. Because, like we said before, it can be very dangerous to buy something that you're not 100% sure on. Exactly like your Oracle deck versus Tarot
Oh
deck
yeah.
situation, where, like myself, I am not an Oracle. I am a full tarot reader, have been doing it for years for people and myself. And I was handed one before from a friend,
Oh
and I was
yeah.
just checking it out, and I was like, whoa, I have no idea what I'm doing. And if I read this for myself or someone else, this could be really dangerous depending on the information that I get or what I feel like I'm getting from it as a non-oracle person. Like, yeah, no, that's the craziest story that I think that you've told me is like someone just not knowing, being so uneducated.
Oh yeah, and then trying to sell it like they know and they don't. It
No,
don't
it's
work like
it's
that.
it's just very like I find it almost disrespectful. I know that we were talking about this topic the other day. I find the
Ooh. Yep.
disrespect that there is about witchy products and people just assuming certain things about them, that they're just playthings, that they're just toys, and that's why they can sell them there. Like I at Walmart, you can buy a Ouija board, which I think is so incredibly.
I think that's
Oh,
horrifying that a child can
yeah,
buy
you
a
can just
Ouija
open
board.
that portal and like, we as spiritual people, as spiritualists, know the damages that can come with that. And that's why I have such an issue with the uneducated sellers and the uneducated buyers because people are now just making this a fad. Like it's not what that is. And that's why I find like going back to the fad versus fact is that you go into these places and it's very much like they are watering it down like you said before. I'm worried that in the next few years our spirituality, witchcraft, paganism, Wiccan, all of these different things will be watered down to the point just like Christianity has become and a lot of other religions, but I'm focusing on Christianity because I know that you and I have had like a lot of experiences with that. So for any of our listeners who have been in that realm or are currently, that's I'm not
Oh
picking on
yeah.
Christianity. I'm
And
just this is what I know. Um
no, 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 no. Like we
yeah,
both grew up in the church, and like for our listeners to know a little bit more, if you haven't heard our first podcast, we both grew up in the church. Both had interactions with like I was the
yeah.
youth pastor's son, and like stuff like that. Like we're not dissing
No,
the
I'm just
church
taking from
at
my
all.
personal
Like
experience. And with my experience, I'm just worried that all the washed down versions that there are of this one specific religion, I'm worried that the power that there is in paganism is going to become washed down. And when you give people the opportunity to buy things that they don't know anything about, that is when you're opening up a door that should never have been opened. Mm,
right. Now, I have a funny
yes.
question for you, Grayson, based off kind of like this little conversation here. Have you so like I had the issue with I had the issue with the Oracle deck
Yes.
versus the Tarot deck where the guy didn't know what he was doing. I didn't really know what I was doing. Have you ever had a moment like that where like you weren't really knowledgeable of the product you were buying and the guy selling it didn't really know what he was like selling you?
Yeah, I most certainly have. I've actually been in a lot of situations like that. I was actually buying a cell phone, and you know me, and the listeners are gonna learn very quickly. I am
Oh,
not tech savvy at all.
I can vouch
Zeffy
for
and our
this.
team, thank God for them because I have no idea what I'm doing half the time. Um,
We just have to say jump on a
Pretty much.
microphone,
That's
you'll be
pretty much
fine.
all I'm good at, which is fine. You know what I mean? It's totally good. But I was trying to buy an iPhone, and this was a couple of years back. And I wanted the iPhone
Uh-huh.
6 Plus because I had heard at the time it was one of the
Okay.
newer
Oh yeah, this
phones
is a
at the
minute ago.
time that it had a good camera. So I was talking to the guy about it, and I just really wanted one with a really good camera because I really enjoy photography. And he was like, you could just tell that he had no idea what he was talking about. He was a Samsung user himself. And he was just like, he was standing there and he was just kind of like, I
Oh.
had done a lot of research on this phone as much as I understood. And I was just like, okay, like how many
Mhm.
gigabytes are on this phone? Like, what would you recommend? I don't really understand what that means or how much space or memory is on this, but I want to be able to take a lot of pictures. Is that going to affect anything? And he was just like, oh, well, like if you get like a 32 gig, you should be fine if you want to do a lot of pictures. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And we were just standing there talking. I ended up buying the cell phone. It was like $1,000. And
Oh
it only had 32
no.
gigs of memory on it. And I don't know if anybody knows.
Oh.
I'm sure a lot of people know more about that stuff than me. But I was like, I got home, I set it all up. Within a couple months, I was having to start deleting apps, deleting videos, deleting pictures, deleting everything because there wasn't enough space on this stupid phone. And I went back to the store and I
Oh
saw the guy who
no.
sold it to me. And he came over and he's like, "Oh, hey, nice to see you, whatever." And I was just like, "Hey, can I talk to your boss or something? Because I don't know, like, are you an iPhone user?" And I should have asked at the boss.
Oh no, you
And he
asked the
was like,
question.
actually, I have to apologize. I'm a Samsung user. I don't know much about like iPhones, and I just got this job. He was brand new. It was his first day when I got in there. So he had no
No.
idea what he was talking about. I was one of his
Oh.
first sales, and I guess he had a lot of people coming in, but I respected him for owning up to it. And when it came down to it, he went and grabbed someone else who understood. I
Yeah.
got my money refunded. I just like switched phones. But yeah, that could have gone really, really bad because in that amount of time, I hadn't bought Apple Care. If I would have dropped my phone and broken
Oh.
it, then I wouldn't have been able to get any money back. I wouldn't have been able to switch it over. He had no idea what he was talking about at all. And it was very, very
Oh, that would have gone
frustrating.
south for you if you had
Yeah,
broken
no,
your
I'm going to
phone.
do that. It's serious problem.
That sucks though, cause like to be in that situation where like, and like it's nice that the guy at least
Absolutely.
owned up to it and was like, hey, I'm a Samsung user, whatnot. But like at the same time, like why not? Okay, and, like this is me coming from somebody who's done like been a
Mm.
manager at a store too. Like, why didn't they have somebody with him that was trained in knowing what to do, and why wasn't he able to like go to like someone else and go, hey, they want this phone and I don't know all this stuff on this. Can I get some
Absolutely.
assistance?
I'm
Or
so
because
with
like
you. And that's why I find it,
like
it's like,
I'll
it's such nonsense. Like that whole situation was just full shopping nonsense.
and that is shopping nonsense with Zeffy and Grayson today. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. But before we go, we have a fun little game to play with you guys. It is the 60 seconds with Grayson. And today I put it out to my TikTok audience and asked you guys, what should Grayson rant about this week? And your guys' answer was
Exes. Well, I
X's.
have a lot of exes. Now I'm not your boy's not a hoe. Just had a stage. A lot of my exes, I think the main issue that I have with my exes is when they tell me that they want to be friends after. Like, I don't want to be your friend. Respectfully, I'm so not into it. Exes are such a like we broke up for a reason. If I can't spend every waking moment with you and we've had all this history and everything, I don't want to be around you. I need time to breathe. I need time to chill. Maybe one day we'll see each other in a Walmart and we'll be like, "What's up?" and like just do a little head nod thing and we'll be fine. Another issue that I have with exes is exes who don't return your stuff. You have boxes of stuff laying around, or maybe you've cleaned out your apartment for as much as you can, and then they just hold on to stuff. Like, nah, bitch, I bought that stuff with my own money. Like, I spent so much time and effort to get those things, and it's just, it is what it is.
All right, Grayson, that is your time. The 60 seconds is up. I want to thank everybody for coming out to listen to our podcast today. This has been Shopping Nonsense with Zeffy and Grayson. If you want to catch more of Ain't Yo Tea, go check out our links. You can catch our YouTube channel where we post all of our podcasts. You can join our Discord, and you'll be able to find our new TikTok channel that's out this week. Listen, I work in a convenience store, okay? On certain days, freight and truck come in. Okay, we all get that. But there are these certain customers that come in and decide, hey, I'm going to shop right where you are, right where your U-boat is, full of stuff that you need, and I'm going to leave my cart here for 15 to 20 fucking minutes when you could just move it to the end of the U-boat. And I can do my job. You can do your shopping, and we can get along. Not put it in front of my U-boat. I go to move it, and you put it back and have an attitude with me. That's not fucking cool. That's not chill. You need to back the fuck up, put your cart on the side, let me do my job, you do your job, and that will be our little relationship shit we got going on. I hate
I
Karens.
am
Oh my god.
so with you.
Anyways, that has been the after party.